Alright, this is a video on how to navigate the command line in Linux. So why use the command line? Almost everything can be done with the GUI or the Graphical User Interface. So that's what we see right here. It's all these apps down here, the File Explorer. That's the GUI. So pretty much everything that we can do with the command line, we can do with the GUI. However, the command line is fast. Once you get familiar with it, it can be a lot faster than using the GUI. It's less distracting if you're prone to get distracted. And you also don't need a mouse. Sometimes you won't have a mouse. You don't need one with the command line. And if you are looking to get a system administrator or a similar tech job, you should probably know how to use the command line. You'll probably need to use that on the job, and it's not going to hurt. So it's a good thing to know. I'm running Debian Linux. That's the distribution of Linux I'm running. There's Ubuntu, there's Debian, there's a whole bunch out there. They all are pretty similar when it comes to the command line. So we will open the terminal app. So we can go up here, we can type in terminal, and we actually want to pin this to the dash down here, so we can right click it, pin to dash. So now if we click right here, we can just open up the terminal. So here's the terminal. The terminal is just the application that runs our commands. And this right here is the command line interface. So that's just, you can type your commands and press enter and they run. And they're sent to the shell, which is the underlying program that processes the commands. There's different types of shells. We're going to be using Bash. That's the standard in Linux. You can check out others if you want, but Bash is the most common. So the first command is the most simple one. It's pwd, or print working directory. So all this does, it just shows you what directory you're in, and it stems from the root directory. So if we do pwd, we can see that we're in directory /home/Ryan. That's just my home directory. And so this first slash is the root directory. So I actually have a photo of this. So here is how the file hierarchy looks in Linux. So root is always at the top. Root is like it's the OG directory. It has every other directory or file inside of it. So if you see it as like a tree-like structure like this, root is always at the very top and everything is in root. Nothing's above root. So like home, user, where we are right now, this is inside of root. Okay, so the next command is ls. ls is how you list the contents of a directory. So we saw from pwd that we are inside the /home/Ryan directory. Now, what if we want to see what's inside of this directory? We do ls, enter, and we can see everything inside. So these are all other directories, code, desktop, documents. It just lists them all. So with ls, there's arguments or flags you can use. So we can do ls-l, and what this will do is give us the long format of all the contents inside this directory. So let's try it. So it has all these same directories. So we have code, desktop, documents, but it gives more data about them. So the first character right here is the file type. So D means it's a directory, so all of these have D, they're all directories. If it was a dash, it would just be a normal file. There's other types too. The rest of these characters are file permissions, which we'll go over later. This is the number of links, go over that later too. This is the owner name, this is the group name, this is the file size, so each of these directories is 4096 bytes, and this is the time the file was last modified, or the directory was last modified in our case. So all of these are June 11th, this is June 26th, this is June 29th. I think actually I haven't modified any of these, so this is just the date I created the virtual machine. So the next thing we can do, actually before we move on, our screen is getting a little cluttered with all of these commands and their outputs. So what we can do to clear the screen is, well, write clear. So clear and enter, and that will give us a clean slate. You can also do, let's populate the screen. The shortcut for that is Control L, and then that's the shortcut for clear. Some other cool flags are, let's do ls-a. So this will include all the hidden files or directories, and a hidden file or directory is a file that starts with a dot or a period. So press enter, and we can see that, so if we do a normal ls, this is what we saw before, But if we do ls/a or -a, which means all, it shows us everything, including the hidden files. So like bash history, bash rc, cache. We didn't see all this initially with just the ls. So that's a good one to know. And we will Control L, clear the screen. The next useful command is cd, which is change directory. This is how we're going to move around the file system using the command line. You're going to use this one all the time. So let's print our working directory. We'll see in /home/Ryan. We'll do a list. We'll see all the directories inside of this directory. And let's say we want to go to code. We can do change directory cd code. And now we're going to hit enter. And if we do a ls, we see we have new directories. Print working directory. We see we're now in /home/Ryan/code. So an important thing to note with this command is absolute or relative paths. So a relative path it refers to the location of a file or directory that is relative to the current working directory. So what this means is if we print our working directory and list, so we can see we're in the /home/Ryan/code. We can do change directory. We can go into the simple project directory. So the whole file path of this would be /home/Ryan/code/simple project. So this is a relative path because we don't give that whole file path. And basically this will just append or add this to the end of this. So if we do this and press enter, print working directory, we can see that we have that same file path as before, but it adds simple project to the end. Now this whole thing is the absolute path. This is utilizing the relative path. So with the absolute path, we can copy this, and then we can go to, let's go to the music directory. We'll clear the screen. So if we try to change directory into the simple project directory we're just in, oh, no file or directory. That's because we're trying to use a relative path. And simple project does not exist in the music directory. But if we use this absolute path, so change directory, paste what we copied before, this is the absolute path starting from root. Now we're in that directory again. So we can do this from anywhere in the file system, which is pretty cool. Absolute paths always start with a slash. That is the root directory. And they're useful because it provides a clear path to the file, and it's not dependent on the current working directory like relative paths. And yeah, you can navigate there anywhere in the file system. Some other things you can do with change directory are you can do change directory tilde or squiggle or whatever that thing's called, and this will bring you back to the home directory. So right now we're in /code/simple project, but if we do this, print working directory, we can see we're back in my home directory. So this will take you to the home directory from anywhere. And another cool thing is we can do cd/, and this will take you to the previous directory we're in. So we executed this command. This took us to the home directory. But if we do cd/, this will take us to the previous one we were in, which was the simple project directory. So execute this, we can print working directory, and we're back in simple project. And the last, let's clear the screen. The last cool thing we can do is we do change directory /. This will take us to the root directory, which contains all other files or directories like we talked about earlier. So if we do enter, and then print working directory, we can see we're just in the / directory. We can do a list. So we can see these are all directories that live in the root directory, and they're all just really important for your computer to run. You have executable files and whatnot. And so one last thing. So we can find out more about all these commands using the man command. So man stands for manual. So you can do manual and then the command you want to learn more about. So let's say we want to know more about print working directory, pwd. We do man, not manual, man pwd, and it'll tell us what the name of it. So pwd, print name of the current working directory. We can see the flags we can use. This one's not too interesting, but we can do man, let's say ls. So it says ls, list directory contents. It gives us a short description, so list information about the files, blah blah blah, and then it says all the arguments we can use. So we can do ls-a, which is what we did, so do not ignore entries starting with a period or a dot, hidden files. We can see the author, we can see We can list entries by column. We can just list directories. So yeah, a whole bunch of interesting things you can do. So any command you are confused about or you want to learn more about, your first thing you should do is looking at the man pages. And then maybe looking things up, Googling. It's good to learn how to read man pages, how to get used to them, how to get comfortable with them, because they're extremely useful.